Hi, and good evening, everybody. My name is John, and this is my 15 minutes. Excuse me. And this is my Old Folks Boogie 2 channel. Just something I do every day. And I have, this is my, what's the day? Oh, this is the 45th episode, 45 days of 15 minutes a night, me just talking about whatever I want to talk about. And posting it on YouTube. And if you've just stumbled across this, I don't know why, but you're welcome to keep watching and see if it interests you. It's just a reminiscing. It is sometimes a ragging. So who knows what I can talk about or what I will talk about. I don't know. From one minute to the next, except for today, I actually I came up with a story idea. Actually, relating back to, oh goodness gracious, look at this, terrible. Anyway, that's what it is when you're old. And I've also decided that I like this position. I like being just recording in this nice swivel chair, relaxing, not having to worry about the picture of the day or anything else. Just a nice, quiet spot, easy to talk. And, it's comfortable. So it works, I guess. Anyway, excuse me, I've mentioned before in here, I am a veteran. I was, I'm 70 years old, and I was in the Army from 1967 to 1970. January 6th to January 5th were my enrolled and outrolled days. The day I got inducted and the day I got released. So, geez. After I got out of the Army, I moved back to Kentucky, where I was living at the time. My parents were there at the time. I had just turned 20. I had a fake ID that said I was 21 and had for a couple of years already, but I was still actually only 20. But that didn't matter. It worked out just fine. That long past. But anyway, so I got out of the Army. I went back to Kentucky for a while. In 1970, I had an apartment in town with a couple other guys, but by the time the end of the year rolled around and I had started changing my lifestyle to more of a hippie lifestyle at the time. And by the time 71 rolled around, I was really fully fledged into it. I was now hitchhiking, as hippies were wont to do in those days. I didn't have a car, and I was living back down in Kentucky again. I had come back up here for a little bit after my parents did in the fall of 70. Then went back down to Kentucky, and we're just hitchhiking. I had friends. We hitchhiked. We came up to my parents' house up here and traveled around. And we ended up down in Florida for spring break of 71. That was John and Mike, and there was one other guy, and a bunch of kids that we knew from college that were going to college. Were going to be in Daytona for for spring break. And we did that year and had just thumbed it. And actually, John and I got jobs in Daytona, painting motels for $5 a day and room and board. I can tell that story at another point because this is after that, but a completely different story. After we had left Daytona and we were there for quite a few months. Oh, and he gave us the guy that we worked for. He gave us a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment right on A1A in Daytona. But anyway, we had come back like early June, right after Memorial Day, maybe I don't know, just a few days. But John and I had come back. I think it was John and I were in, yeah, because we were in Daytona. We had come back through Atlanta, and we had seen we had gone to visit a girl that he knew that lived in Atlanta. We stayed there for a few days. Then we came on back to Kentucky. But while we were in Atlanta, I think that's where we heard about the celebration of life, which was a wannabe Woodstock. And it was going to be held in Louisiana. And I think we heard about it while we were visiting. And I can't remember the girl's name anymore that we visited there. I knew her then before that anyway. I knew her from high school. But anyway, neither here nor there. And again, there's another crutch that I don't like, but I use anyway. We heard about the celebration of life, and somehow or another, and I can't for the life of me figure it out how, because we didn't have any money to speak of, and the tickets weren't cheap, but we got 4 tickets, and there was myself, John, the gentleman I had been hanging in Daytona with, his brother Mike, and another gentleman. And the 4 of us all decided to go down there. We got tickets, so we were going to hitchhike into Louisiana and go to this festival. And it was called the Celebration of Life. And, it's interesting because it was actually we had a great time. We had a great time there. But the story is a little bit, not long, but it's, so what happened? We left Louisville. And what happened? The 4 of us just sat down before we left and decided that we'd never get rides hitchhiking as a group of 4. So John and I split, and we went, and Mike and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they went separately. And the idea was to meet down in Louisiana at the festival. So you have to remember, in those days, there's no cell phones. There's no, there's no communication between friends. If you're not face to face with them, and you're on the road someplace, you're not talking to them. That's all there is to it. And we eventually lost track of them. We never saw Mike and the other guy again until after the whole festival was over. And I think we actually caught them on the way out. We were walking out because we had thumbed it, and a lot of people drove. There was cars. It was a mess back in there. But on the way down, we had some of our own adventures, and one really great adventure while we were at the Celebration of Life Rock Festival. So a couple things happened. We got on, I think it's 65 that heads out of Louisville, Kentucky, and heads down through Nashville and going south. And that's what we were doing, heading south. So we had gotten a couple rides, and at one point I was in the front seat of a guy's car, and John was in the back seat of this guy's car, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but the guy pulled off the interstate, and he started to drive someplace. And John said, "Well, where are we going?" And the guy said, "Oh, no, I know a shortcut." And John's like, no, we want to stay on the interstate. We don't want any shortcuts. And I started to say something. "Oh, no, it's good. I'll take care of you guys. Don't worry about a thing. I'm gonna take you on this shortcut, and we'll get you down the road of peace." And for some reason, it didn't sit well with John. I didn't sit really well with me either, but I couldn't figure out any reason to doubt the guy, I guess. But John did, and he, in his bedroll in the backpack that he had, he had like a buck knife, a sheath knife. And he said to the guy, we came to a stoplight. We weren't off the interstate far, and we had come to a stoplight. And John said, "I think you better let us out now." "Oh, no, we'll take care of it, guys." John pulled out the knife just partially and showed it to him in the rear view mirror. And the guy says, John said, I think we're going to be getting out now." And the guy, oh, okay. And he pulled over and he let us out. We had to walk back to the interstate. It was about a mile, maybe more. Not much, but. So that was one incident. That was a very strange thing. And so we continued. I think this was still in Kentucky. I don't think we had gotten to Tennessee yet. No, we couldn't have gotten to Tennessee yet because one of the next rides we got was this really nice guy in this Cadillac. Just a sweetheart of a guy. He was in a Coupe de Ville. I think it was white with red interior or something. It was just gorgeous. Air conditioning running in 1971. He had beautiful air conditioning, comfortable car floating along the interstate with him and the two of us. And it turned out he had a business in Tennessee, like a department store or something similar. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was pretty successful at it from what we gathered at the time. Well, we were getting off at his. We were stopping. He was stopping at the exit to let us off, and that time it was about 6 or 7 o'clock at night. It wasn't dark yet, but it was getting on there, and we were going to figure out how we were going to spend the night. And this guy's like, listen, guys, if you think it's, it'd be okay. I have my house is right around the corner here. My wife's there. I got my kids are there, but we have a lot of room, and you could stay with us and tell us what we have been talking to him the whole time. Telling him about going to the festival, and of course we had long hair. We looked like hell. We were carrying backpacks and hitchhiking. And so you can imagine, we weren't exactly company. But anyway, so he invited us to his house. And we talked about it for a second or two. And John said, look, that's fine. Let's go ahead. And he did. He took us back to his house. He introduced us. His wife was just, everybody there was just about as nice as you could possibly be to a couple of scruffy hippies, youngsters. I was 21 at the time. I think John might have been 21, maybe 20. I can't remember. He might have been. I don't think he was older than me, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. But anyway, and he put us up for the night. They fed us. We had great talk and conversation, and a beautiful house, gorgeous house, not an old house or anything like that, just a beautiful, nice house out in the middle, it's not exactly in a neighborhood, but it wasn't far away. I think we were outside of Nashville, I think, someplace. But anyway, that's all long past. But anyway, he took us in. And they fed us dinner. They fed us breakfast. He took us back to the interstate the next morning. And dropped us off at the different exit that he got off because we went farther south than we got. But anyway, dropped us off. One of the nicest experiences you could ever have. And, this trip didn't come without some trepidation either, because here we are, long-haired hippie people, as they say, heading into the deep south. Not in 1971, that wasn't considered to be the smartest move you could make, and especially hitchhiking. You got no four doors around you, nothing, no steel to protect you in case something, weird goes on. So, but, we were just, we didn't even consider that really. We did, but we, were prepared to deal with whatever happened, I guess. I don't even know because nothing really happened. But anyway, so this guy put us back on the interstate, and then we started heading on down to Louisiana. And we got, this is like a Wednesday, I think. I think it was either a Tuesday. This was supposed to be an 8-day rock festival is what it was billed as. It was supposed to start on a Saturday and end on a Sunday or something like that, 8 days later. Or start on a Friday and end on a Saturday or whatever it is. It was, but something happened. We had tickets, but we couldn't have gotten there that first weekend anyway. And it turned out that it was a bust, and that weekend didn't matter. But we didn't know that at the time. But so we were just heading And I think we had left on a Tuesday. I think it was a Tuesday. And then we had the one incident with the guy and the knife. And then the same night, the guy put us up and took us the next morning. And so the next day, we thumbed it. And yeah, actually managed to get a couple of really good rides down into through Tennessee, on down into Alabama, and then over Mississippi, and then cutting back over to Louisiana. And as we got closer to Louisiana, what we fell in with was groups of people that were going to the festival. So we were thumbing it. We ended up on a ride with a guy and his girlfriend. I think I don't think they were married, but they were young like us, and they were hippies. And he had a Mustang. He had about a 64 or 65 Mustang convertible. And this was 1971, and the thing was already beat. I mean, it really was. It shouldn't have been. It was only, 5, 6 years old at the time. It shouldn't have been beat, but boy, it was. It didn't even have that many miles on it that I remember, but it was tired already. It had the springs and the shocks. Oh, but it still got us there, and we didn't really care. These guys had some drugs, and we had some drugs, and we were sharing back and forth. And this time now we're, getting closer, and there's people coming by with signs, celebration of life and this and that. And so we're just following the crowd. And now the festival itself, oh my God, I'm way over my 15 minutes. I didn't realize that. I'm going to have to continue this tomorrow night. We're done. Sorry, I didn't mean to take too long. But anyway, sorry. Good night. Take care of yourself. Take care of the loved ones. And be kind.